welcome to Crime Over Wine Weekly. It is Monday, April 15th. I'm Michelle Heron. Here are your crime headlines. 5 days after the body of 27-year-old actor Cole Brings Plenty was found in Kansas, investigators say they do not suspect foul play in his death. Brings Plenty had been missing since March 31st and was wanted in a domestic violence case in a nearby town when he was found in a wooded area. A cause of death has not been released. The Colorado home where Chris Watts murdered his pregnant wife is off the market. The 5-bedroom, 4-bath home was sold for $600,000. It had been on the market since May. Watts was convicted of strangling his wife Shanann in the house and then smothering his young daughters, Bella and Celeste, at his work site. Questions are swirling around O.J. Simpson's estate after the football superstar turned murder suspect died this week at the age of 76. According to The Independent, Simpson received substantial annual income from various sources, including Social Security, Screen Actors Guild pension, and NFL earnings. The specifics of his estate have yet to be disclosed. His assets will more than likely begin the probate court process within the next 30 days. Hello and welcome to Crime Over Wine Weekly. I am joined by the ever so lovely Heather Holley. Hey, Heather.
Hi, how are you?
I am good. I think all of us were caught off guard with the news about OJ passing. I mean, it feels like came out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's not like someone that I keep up with, so I didn't know he had cancer, but I remember seeing it come up on social media while I was at work, and I was like, oh my God, OJ's dead. And everyone thought I was joking. I was like, no, like TMZ said it, you know it's real.
Yes, and I think it really brought everyone back to where they were when the verdict was read in his murder trial. I mean, I was fairly young, but I specifically remember it. And it's like just listening to people talk about where they were and what they remember from back then. It was a little, in a weird way, nostalgic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and all the clips of the chase coming back up, that was all over my social media feeds too.
Yes, I saw like some news stories from back when the verdict was read and like just people reacting because that was like really the first time that the public got to see, a trial play out like that on TV. And it had people had opinions about it just as they still do, but it's like I wonder what those same people would say if they were asked now. You know what I mean? Like, has their opinions into his case and just kind of everything, like, has that changed at all? Especially, with his book that came out and just, there's been so much that has happened since then. Like, it's like, I wonder what those people would say now.
Yeah, because I know one of the things that we watched in the newsroom after the news came out was an old story of people who locally had watched the verdicts, like I think it was a college campus. They had gathered and watched it, and um, I was like, it'd be cool if we could see if we could find those people now and see what they have to say. Like, how many of them actually got out of Chattanooga? Let's be real.
Either way, definitely just a talker, and it kind of, as it was mentioned in that headline, like now people are wondering like what's going to happen to his estate. Like obviously the assets will be divided among his kids, but also before that's going to happen, it's probably going to go to probate court. And a lot of people have been like, well, what will Ron Goldman's family file anything, just the families of the victims, like what's going to happen, where's that going to go? And obviously we don't know right now, but it's probably not going to be the end of hearing about that.
Nope, OJ is back in the headlines for a little bit, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get to the best part of the podcast, and that is wine.
Yes, so this week I picked it out again. So sorry, everyone. But I'm really hopeful for this week's. Okay, I decided we were going to go with a white wine. We wanted something a little lighter, so we went with that. It's a Prophecy Pinot Grigio, and they describe it as notes of light citrus, tropical fruit, and mineral notes offer crisp refreshment and are complemented by delicate floral aromas.
I like it. Um, it's light as Pinot Grigio typically is, and it definitely has a lot of flavor to it. I do taste like the fruit aromas, but I it's no secret that I'm a Pinot Grigio girly. So, Heather, this is a win in my column. But what do you think?
I like it. I'm not a big citrus flavor girly, so I would like that dialed back a little bit more and the other fruit or floral flavors to come forward some. But other than that, I think it's really good. I like the crispness of it. I guess it would be an off dry or medium dry is what is the proper way to describe that. I don't know. But this is like a good balance of sweet and dry for me. And as we're getting like this is probably our first quote unquote hot day so far of the season. So it's a good one for the weather.
Yeah, I was about to point that out. Like with it being warmer, you typically want something that's a little bit easier to drink, and I do think that this fits that bill.
Did I do it? Did I finally pick a good one?
You say finally. I like your picks. I like that how you're open to whatever. Like I said, this is a win for me. I like it. This bottle is probably going to be enjoyed. Maybe not all tonight, but it's going. I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, and I was like, I think this one might actually get finished. And spoiler alert, the label did play a big part in picking it because it's really pretty. It kind of looks like a tarot card, reminiscent of those kinds of designs. Beautiful woman like dipping into a lake. It's called the Star, and there's a whole backstory on Prophecy's website too about the label.
Oh wow, that's pretty neat.
I think this is my favorite one so far.
Okay, I like that. We will take that. I know that Liam would definitely be proud.
Speaking of which, we do have an announcement to make about Liam. He is going to take a break, a little hiatus from Crime Over Wine Weekly for now. So it'll just be Michelle and I for a little bit.
Hey, I mean, if he's gonna leave us up to our own devices, it could get pretty dangerous over here on Crime Over Wine Weekly. Just saying.
Could, like, we may become the crime. I'm kidding. I have an alibi.
Yes, always. Always have an alibi.
If I did it.
Never admit to anything, Heather, ever.
It wasn't. It was a hypothetical. If OJ can do it, I can do it.
So we'll continue the fun over here on Crime Over Wine Weekly, and whenever Liam's able to, he'll hop back in, and he knows that he won't be able to get away from us for very long. I feel confident in that. All right, so coming up on Crime Over Wine Weekly, an arrest in Wisconsin where the discoveries of several body parts appear to be those of a missing teenager. How investigators piece together the mystery.
Crime Over Wine is sponsored by BetterHelp. As someone who's used therapy for years, I know that finding a therapist can sometimes be a stress on its own, juggling your full-time job, your family, your friends, your podcast, and trying to find the right therapist on top of that can almost feel impossible. That's where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp matches you with a therapist that works for you on your terms. It's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to one of 33,000 licensed professional therapists in as little as a few days. And because finding a new therapist is a lot like finding a new bottle of wine, if you don't jive with your therapist, you can easily switch to a new one at no additional cost. You can get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp by going to BetterHelp.com/crimeoverwine. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/crimeoverwine for 10% off your first month. Join over 4 million people who decided to get help and get happy with BetterHelp.
So this one is a hard one. Like, I first saw the headline and was intrigued by the celestialness of it, but it's really heartbreaking, and we'll get into it. Los Angeles police say an astrology influencer killed her boyfriend and infant the day of the eclipse. Neighbors heard Danielle Cherokee Johnson and her boyfriend Jalen Cheney arguing early Monday morning. Investigators say Johnson stabbed Cheney to death around 3:40 a.m. She then took her 9-year-old and infant daughters and left. About an hour later, Johnson was driving down the freeway. She slowed down, opened the door, and told her 9-year-old to get out. LAPD says when the child refused, Johnson pushed her and the infant out onto the freeway. The baby was hit and killed by a passing car. Somebody noticed the children and called 911. The surviving girl was taken to the hospital, and she's now in custody of the Department of Children and Family Services. Johnson's path of violence continued to Redondo Beach. Police say she reached speeds of over 100 miles per hour before slamming into a tree, killing herself. In the days leading up to the eclipse, Johnson made several posts about the celestial event, one saying it was, quote, the epitome of spiritual warfare. An LAPD lieutenant tells the Associated Press that detectives have reviewed these posts, but they're not considering the eclipse as a contributing factor. He says, quote, I don't know how much weight you can give to somebody saying there's an apocalypse and attribute it to one of the most horrific murders we've had in LA.
Wow, you're exactly right. How heartbreaking is that entire story?
And right now there's a lone survivor who is a 9-year-old girl who police say witnessed the murder of the boyfriend. She was holding her baby sister when she was pushed out of the car. The baby fell out of her arms, and that's when she was hit. And I can't imagine the trauma and pain and how you even if you weren't physically hurt in all of this, she will never have a real moment of peace again.
Yeah. Wow. That is, and so even though she was saying she was blaming it on the eclipse, with detectives saying, I don't know how you can attribute it to that. I wonder, is that their way of saying, like, she was going to do this regardless?
I don't know. I kind of took it as we aren't going to let her blame something happening in the sky for her atrocious acts. They don't know why she really did it. I haven't seen any reports of previous mental health issues regarding her or necessarily issues between the couple before this.
Yeah. Wow. That's a heavy one, Heather.
I started us hard and sad, so let's see where you take us, Michelle.
So I am going to take us to Wisconsin, where a man is accused in the death of a missing teenager named Sade Robinson. And investigators in Milwaukee County charged Maxwell Anderson on Friday with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and arson of property other than a building. The 19-year-old was reported missing on April 1st after she didn't show up for work. The next day, the charred remains of her car were found, but there was no sign of Sade. Now, in the days following, authorities discovered human remains throughout an area not far from where her car was found, and court documents reveal that there were text messages between the two where they were meeting up before the teenager disappeared, and then also data from her Life 360 account tracked her cell phone to the accused killer's home, and also where severed human remains were found. And from doing my research into this case, there were just random body parts found like kind of all over. And on Friday, detectives said that DNA from a leg that was found during a search was Robinson's, and then a criminal complaint stated that a foot found in a wooded area near a playground appeared to be from the same person due to the size, skin tone, and matching pink nail polish. So, there's still a lot of questions here, but it's just gruesome to think that, body parts were chopped up and then just spread all over the place. I mean, this is another heartbreaking one, I feel like.
Yeah, and what was the relationship? Were they dating or?
They wouldn't go as far as say dating, but they definitely had contact. So, so I think that's part of what they're trying to, figure out at this point is, what is that, or what was that relationship, and where did things take a turn?
Yeah, so too early to really discuss a potential motive.
Yeah, definitely. But I think the big part, the big drop was on Friday when they were able to confirm that those remains were Sade, and that this person has been charged, so obviously a lot of detective work has already gone into this case. The fact that they were able to do some of the DNA matching and pull phone records and help piece, a lot of that together already. So hopefully the momentum will keep going in this case, in the right direction so that there is justice, because nobody deserves to, have their life cut short, obviously, but they also don't deserve to have their remains scattered all over the place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the amount of disrespect that went into that act, because it doesn't sound like he buried these remains either. He's just tossing this poor girl's body parts in random places. And that, I don't know if anyone else believes in spirits and stuff, but she's not resting. And that's cruel and horrible. And I don't know why or how anyone finds themselves in the mental capacity to carry out such acts.
Yeah. Hopefully that will come out, and hopefully that can be something that comes out in a trial, and we can kind of learn more as to like, how did this situation go from point A to point B?
Or even his affidavit, if that hasn't come out yet and been made public. Maybe there's going to be a little bit more in there. I don't know if you said, were all of the remains that were found identified as hers, or is there potentially another victim?
Not all of them have been identified as hers, but this is my interpretation of like kind of what I've read and put together, but it sounds like one part came back as hers, and because of the size and skin color and things like the nail polish, they were able to say, okay, this is probably all the same person, and that might come with more testing. Maybe this was just the first piece of evidence that was tested, so the results came back quicker. It'll definitely be a case that we'll continue to follow, and we'll keep you updated with what happens. But now we turn to a missing college student's cell phone is found at an airport ticket counter, but police don't know if she boarded a plane. When we come back, hear why her parents are so concerned about the 23-year-old's state of mind.
Get ready for that big test with Study.com. Study.com offers learning materials and test prep, even LSAT study prep guides for all of my legal nerds listening. Unfortunately, there aren't any wine study guides, and believe me, I did check. Listeners can get 30% off their first 3 months of any subscription level using the promo code CrimeOverWine. Again, that's promo code CrimeOverWine, no spaces, for 30% off your first 3 months at Study.com. Learn faster, stay motivated, study smarter with our sponsor, Study.com. Hello, everybody. This is Liam Collins, the host of the podcast Crime Over Wine, and I'm about to make your Wine Wednesdays so much better. We know that there is nothing better than hanging out and listening to your favorite true crime podcast over your favorite bottle of wine, and that's where we come in. Every week, we share a new head-scratching true crime story while reviewing your new favorite bottle of wine. So your new true crime adventure is waiting for you. Crime Over Wine drops new episodes every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts.
The family of a missing California college student is growing more concerned after her cell phone was found at an airport ticket counter. Noelle Lynch left her parents' home in Southern California in a, quote, difficult state of mind and was in a car accident. She has not been seen or heard from since April 3rd. That's according to her family. Her family says the 23-year-old planned to meet up with her mom at a hotel near LAX airport, but she never showed up. Around noon on April 3rd, she called her mom from a, quote, strange person's phone and was, quote, mostly not making sense. That's according to what her dad has told media outlets in the area. Police say her cell phone was found at a Southwest ticket counter at the LAX airport, but it's unclear if she boarded a plane. Anyone with information about Noelle Lynch should call LA police at 1-877-LAPD-247.
A 12-year-old girl from Brooklyn has been missing for nearly a week. Victoria Perozzo, who also goes by Tori, hasn't been heard from since last Tuesday. Tori had gotten in trouble the night before for texting with an older boy. Tori's sister and legal guardian, Eliana Perozzo, says Tori went to school like normal Tuesday morning. But afterwards, Eliana tracked Tori's AirTag to several locations. The last was an apartment complex in Mott Haven. But when Eliana arrived, there was no sign of Tori. Instead, she found a man who had picked up the AirTag and said he hadn't seen the young girl. NYPD detectives told Eliana they have security video showing Tori getting on the subway in East Village early Thursday morning. On top of getting in trouble, Tori has also been dealing with her mother's absence. Eliana says the family hasn't heard from her in 2 months. Tori was last seen wearing a blue hooded sweater with Keith Heron in cursive on it, black and white striped pants, white Nike Air Force Ones, and a pink LL Bean backpack. She's described as a Latina with fair skin, hazel eyes, and brown hair. She's 5'1", and if you have any information on Tori's whereabouts, call NYPD's Crime Stoppers hotline at 1-800-577-8477, or for Spanish, 1-888-577-4782.
Police in Chicago are looking for a missing man who they say may be in need of medical attention. Joseph Westbrook has been missing since April 1st. He was last seen on South Normal Avenue in New City, that's in the Chicago area. Police say the 31-year-old may be in need of medical attention, but did not provide details about any potential conditions that he may have. Now, anyone with information about where 31-year-old Joseph Westbrook could be should call Chicago Police Department's Area 1 Special Victims Unit at 312-747-8380.
Police are looking for a Florida teen who's been missing since February. 17-year-old Jamila Strickland is from Panama City. She was last seen February 10th on LC Hilton Drive. Jamila is black with black hair and brown eyes. She's 5'2" and may have a scar on her right arm. Jamila was last seen wearing a black hijab, a dark-colored shirt and pants, and black and white tennis shoes. If you have any information, call 850-233-5010.
The search for a missing mother of 3 in Florida ramps up again 6 months after she disappeared. Nicole Baldwin went missing on November 2nd. Police say she was last seen at her home and that all of her belongings were found inside. Authorities announced on Friday several dive teams will begin searches in lakes and ponds in Lake County. That's where she lived. Her husband was arrested in December on a federal charge of possessing child pornography. Police have not said if it's related to Nicole's disappearance. A $5,000 reward is being offered for any information. If you can help police find Nicole Baldwin, call Mount Dora Police at 352-735-7130.
Andre Moten Jr. went missing from Humble, Texas in October of 2019. He was 22 years old at the time and would be 27 today. He was last seen leaving his home around 2 a.m. while talking on the phone with a friend. Andre's father spoke with Fox 26 in 2022. He said several of Andre's friends came over the next morning, panicked and asking him to help search for Andre in the woods. At this point, Andre's family didn't even know he was missing. Andre's father says deputies interviewed and did lie detector tests on Andre's friends, but the family still doesn't have any answers about what may have happened to Andre. Andre is a black man with brown eyes and black hair. It was in dreadlocks when he went missing. He's 6'2" and has multiple tattoos on his chest and arm. He was last seen wearing a black shirt and jeans. If you have any information about Andre's disappearance, call the Harris County Sheriff's Department at 713-221-6000.
Man, another great episode on the books. Thank you to everybody for listening. And if you can't get enough of Crime Over Wine, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're all there. And if there's a case that you would like us to cover, send us a note. We would love to look into it, to dig into it, and to cover it here on Crime Over Wine Weekly. But for now, we'll see you next Monday for the next episode of Crime Over Wine Weekly. And we'll see you this Wine Wednesday for your regularly scheduled episode of Crime Over Wine.
Proud member of the Podnuga Network.